So next we are going to go into our third part of our high definition makeup application. And first you want to make sure that you are taking the proper precautions to assure that you will not get any airbrush product on your clients. So a nice nylon cape like this is perfect. This is going to assure that none of the fine mist is dropping down onto her clothing. Okay, so first we're going to start with the HedLux foundations, and I'm going to mix two different colors together for my model today. So I want to give it a nice shake. Definitely want to shake these up really well. This is water-based solution, so this is really easy to work with. I'm going to put a couple of drops of each color, about 4 to 6, in the top of my airbrush gun. This is a top feeding airbrush, so this is really, really easy to mix. Okay, now I have the two foundation colors in there. What I'm going to do next is turn on the machine. I want to take a tissue and I want to cover the top of the nozzle with the tissue. This is going to create pressure in the machine. It's going to create a back bubble effect in the airbrush cup, and this is going to mix the two foundations together. This is very important. So you want to set the mode on high. The HedLux airbrush compressor comes in 3 modes: high for the entire face and body, medium for contouring and enhancing effects, and light for eyes and lips. So you want to mix that for about 10 to 20 seconds, and you want to test it on top of the tissue. So you want to make sure that when you're airbrushing, you're going to always start at the bottom, the chin, the jawline, and you're going to move up the face on one side, you're going to move up the face on the other side, and then the center. This is going to keep it really uniform. Now, in the past, it was always taught that we should do small circular motions, but we have created a new technique that has a more high definition look for you. This is going to be more of an ovalesque, dashing, broad sweeping motion. This is going to give you a better application. So first, starting here, you want to make sure that you're doing broad, ovalesque motions from the jaw line all the way up to the forehead. Continue on the other side. And a little goes a long way. This is making a fine mist across the face. You want to hold this about 6 inches away from the face, up the center. Have your client hold their breath so it's not going up the nose. I'm going to start again on the right hand side of the face. Make sure you cover the eye area using broad dashing motions. And then all the way up the center. Always have your client hold their breath when you're working on the center. At the end, you want to make sure you're sweeping softly into the neckline so it has a seamless application. There's not going to be any breaks. Continue to do this until you feel like you have reached the perfect application. So as you can see, I did about 3 sweeps around the face. Again, always start your airbrush here at this jawbone, okay? You're going to move up the face, and up the face in the middle. When you're working over the eyes, never go directly into the eye like this, okay? Never go that close. You're always going to want to go from a downward motion, okay? Because a lot of clients have overly sensitive eyes and you definitely don't want to add to that, okay? So I want to give you some special tips on airbrush. The distance of the airbrush is very, very important. You want to keep it 6 to 8 inches away from the face. This is going to assure that the micro droplets of product are not going to be too heavy-handed. I'll show you what will happen if you do it closer. Here on her cheek, if I do it too close, you can see that I have way too much product on her cheek. This is going to give a very caked on effect. So I'm just going to dab that off quickly so that it does not stay. Use a sponge. When you're first starting working and you're working with the new compressor and the airbrush, you might get too close. So remember, 6 to 8 inches away. Also, the stroke is very important. Ovalesque, broad strokes, okay? Now, also the trigger. This is very important because most people, when they start working with airbrush, they pull the trigger all the way back. If you pull the trigger all the way back, again, you're going to have too much product on the face, okay? So you want to press down on the trigger and pull it back to the midpoint. This is going to give the perfect fine mist micro droplets of airbrush foundation onto the face. This is not going to look heavy-handed. It's going to look beautiful. As you work and round the face, the more you work, the more you are going to erase small discolorations. Now, if your client has a blemish or discoloration on the face, you can quickly cover that up with the airbrush foundation. Right here we have a blemish. So I'm going to take the airbrush and I'm going to put the setting on light or low. Okay, and this is going to go directly onto the blemish. I'm going to turn my machine off. Take a little bit of a sponge and make sure that's blended perfectly. You want to make sure that the airbrush foundation is going directly to the source of the blemish or discoloration. You don't need to add any more around it. So sponging when you're doing trouble spots like this is essential. Another helpful hint when you're working on a client is the nose area, right around the lips and in here within the eye where the sinuses are. In this area, we have pores that are in all different directions, okay? So it's very important to give an extra light mist in this area, and you really want to work around this area, okay? Like so. The best way to treat this area, where we have a lot of dimension, is broad little strokes. If you want to make sure and move the airbrush gun accordingly, so you're making sure to cover all the pores. Next, I'm going to take the translucent powder and I'm going to set again using a wedge sponge. And I'm going to do a dab and roll motion. This is going to set the airbrush foundation beautifully in place. It's going to cancel out any shine. Make sure you feather off a little bit into the jawline, the neckline, and over here on the ears and the temples. And make sure there's no lines, it's just a seamless application. So now we have prepped the face with a Veil Foundation Primer. We have concealed the face with Skin Perfector Concealer and Canvas Eye Mousse. And the last thing we did was airbrush the entire foundation with HedLux Premium Airbrush Foundation.